Hello and welcome. My name is James Rice. I'm cybersecurity faculty here at Mohawk Valley Community College and one of the organizers for the NCAE Cyber Games. And joining me as always, of course, is Mike Lisi. Mike is one of our main CTF masterminds. Mike, how's life going on your side of the aisle today?
We're surviving, James. It's a struggle sometimes, but not too bad. How about you?
Oh, it's that after Thanksgiving rush where, okay, yay, we have a holiday. Holy crap, the semester is come very fast approaching, and I'm reminded by it. The students are reminded by it, hopefully, and that just seems to be the crunch time this time of year. So, and I'm sure in the private sector, everyone is trying to rush to get things done before the end of the calendar year as well.
Oh yeah, everybody just needs their testing done before the end. So yeah, lots of work lined up. Big rush till Christmas, but it'll quiet down eventually, I think.
Yeah, exactly. It's what we've signed up for. So, but nevertheless, that kind of transitions as well to what we've been doing here at the NCAE Cyber Games. We've been really busy trying to deploy a whole bunch of technology, both before Thanksgiving as well as by the end of the year. And one of the main things we want to spotlight here tonight, of course, right off the bat, is a lot of the changes that we've made to our website. So we've rolled out, a lot of our dev team has been working on all these changes. We've rolled out an entirely new website, a new look and feel. And so definitely, if you haven't checked out the website in a little while, go back and check it out. And one of the first things you really should do after you get there and kind of click the buttons and see the new look and feel, is to realize that team registration is now live as well. And so that's definitely something that we want to spend a bit of time here talking about tonight. As always, afterwards, we'll have Mike take us on a little bit of a journey through some technical CTF challenges that he's got lined up for us. Afterwards, we'll check in with a couple other clubs from around the country as I continue to talk to them, and we'll share some funny bloopers, etc., and kind of clear out the night that way. So, Mike, if that sounds good, we'll head over to the website and have a look at some of the things that we're doing over there.
Yeah, sounds good.
So as I mentioned, this is going to kind of be the new look and feel when you come here. And as of right now, I am currently logged in, just kind of on one of my dummy student accounts. And so one of the main things I really want people to check out is if you're logged in the student category, you now have some options here. We're going to have the student account page. And this is where, as we get to competition season, we'll be able to pass on some important messages and action items for you as a student, as a competitor, to just be aware of that stuff. But as I just mentioned a moment ago, the big link that we should be checking out down here in the bottom left is this team management link. And so if you're a registered user, you've confirmed your account and all that, you should be able to go to team management and start to manage your team roster based on what school you're at. And so what you can see here, what we've done is I have been added, my user, jrice at mvcc.edu. This is what it will look like if somebody has added you to an existing team. So you can see here our red team lead, Brody Davis. He's one of our main devs. He at mvcc.edu created a team, signed me up for a particular time, and then added me to the roster. And so that's what this will look like if you are a member of a competition that have already been added to a team. If you haven't created a team yet, or you haven't been added to a team yet, I've been informed everyone should be able to come to the top here, and when you say select a team, just go and create your own team then. And so I believe the way things are currently set up is you can only be captain of one team. And for the vast majority of schools, that's all that you're going to have is just one team captain that will then go and manage everyone else. And so all you'll have to do is get all of the other students at your college, just make sure they register accounts, and then you'll be able to add them after they've registered their account here on our site. The reason why I do mention this, though, is there are some large universities that ended up sending more than one team. So it is possible that if you see yourself and you already happen to have a school or already have one, maybe someone added you to the wrong team. So just as the new team captain, you could go and create your own team and then be able to manage things that way. Just in the case that we do have a couple of very large universities that had a whole bunch of people and they created multiple teams. But otherwise, you'll be able to see Mohawk Valley Community College. It was identified as that the at mvcc.edu part has already identified that I'm part of the Northeast. So I'll be able to only pick available dates for Northeast competitions. And so that's something you're going to want to pay attention to right off the bat, is to realize your college or university belongs to a certain region, and based on what region you're in, that's the weekends that you're going to have available for you to pick. So there should be at least a couple options for you, and you're going to want to discuss that, of course, with your teams here ahead of time. But long story short, if you don't have a team, then hit create a team, pick a weekend, go ahead and register the team. And if you're one of the team leaders, then you would be able to go in and find other people's emails that are also registered on our site, hit add, and be able to manage things that way. In theory, it is possible. Like I said, you could therefore be added to two teams where you happen to be the team leader of one, and maybe some other person took the initiative and already added you to one. So if you get into little things like this, obviously we're going to continue to improve this interface and get some of your feedback. So feel free to talk to us in Discord. Right, in Discord, you definitely can hit up at B Davis Brody, and I'm sure he'll be able to respond to any of your little issues you might be having on the website. But any one of us can really be able to help you register your team appropriately and make sure you've clicked all the buttons. So hopefully this will completely streamline the process. You'll be able to add and remove all of your team members as necessary right up until the cutoff point. And you'll be able to pick your dates and see all your dates ahead of time, and it should be pretty straightforward. So this is live. This is live on our site. This is something you can do right now. And I'd say in general, the thing you probably should shoot for is try to get a team registered before the semester ends, before you go on a December break. Because even if you're not 100% sure what your roster is, at least if you get a few people in there, then we can start to plan out exactly what different weekends are going to have, like what different capacities. Especially if you know that you're trying to shoot to use one weekend as opposed to another, at least you can get your team registered and get on a particular weekend. So I would highly recommend doing that. You can always tweak the people who actually show up a little bit later, but at least then we can start to get that initial head count of how everything looks. So Mike, what do you think? Is this something that, if I missed any of the main points, is this going to help us get started here this spring?
Yeah, I think it's a lot easier now for the teams to figure out a date, to organize themselves. And just to clarify, and correct me if I'm wrong, they can sign up for one of those events, right? It'll list all the ones that are available, but as long as we still have slots on those dates, they can sign up and select one of those. So that's kind of like something to take into consideration if you don't know exactly when you want to do it. Keep an eye on those, because if things fill up, then you might be limited a little bit more in which weekend you can participate.
Right, and definitely something that this is going to help with dramatically is even if you end up having to move or something like that, at least us on our end from a data management perspective, we'll be able to see you, which team you're on, and everyone else on your team. And so then we'd be able to manage you not just as individuals at a school, but of course we can just manage you as the entire team. So, if there are little things like that we have to communicate in Discord, we're well prepared to do that, and I'm sure we can handle that type of those types of requests as necessary. So,
and I see the Discord link and the LinkedIn stuff there too. That's to get them into the chat with us, right?
Yeah, so definitely the linking your Discord account, that's something that we've had now added to your account page as well. So like I said, we're going to continue to round this out and add in more information as the regional events approach, and then after the regional events happen. So we're hoping that this profile page, we're going to continue to fill in with useful details, kind of as it makes sense, as appropriate. But yep, as you can see here, you can already link this to Discord. You can already link it to your LinkedIn account. And these are definitely some good things to do if you haven't done that already. So
nice. Yeah, big improvement.
Yep. So like I said, but the rest of this, though, from a website, highlighting our website, I'll let you just kind of browse around, click around the buttons. But at some point here this semester, try to get with your cyber clubs, try to talk to whoever it is that's, wants to take the lead. And if no one seems to be stepping up, then just go ahead and do it yourself. Just go ahead and try making a team. It's not a problem. And you can go out and stalk everyone else's email at your college and be able to figure that all out and add everyone. So then we can get a good head count of teams and start to look at what the lineups are looking like here for this coming spring. So, okay. So having said that, that's kind of some big main news, but I won't spend too much more time talking about it. I'll just let you guys check it out, try it for yourself, and then let us know how it goes in Discord. So Mike, the rest of the night, the main thing certainly we want to take a look at is some of the challenges that you've been working on to kind of present to us here for practice and all that. So can you give us a little perspective and a little background on what is it that you've got lined up for us tonight?
Yeah, so last week we started with kind of some basics on the cryptography types of challenges. I had mentioned then that each of these streams that we do, we're going to be covering different types of topics that we see inside of our event. Those types of categories include cryptography. Other ones are exploitation, reverse engineering, some trivia, some forensics types of things. So this for this month, we're covering some reverse engineering. I have a challenge that we did not use for any of the regional events or finals last year, but it was a challenge that we used in our local event in previous years. So this is something that, regardless if anybody had participated, it'll be available in the sandbox later. So you can follow along here, just get an idea of what's going on, and then attempt to solve it and get the experience there from that. So with that, we can take a look at the challenge here.
So as a quick recap, for anyone who's national, this is a never before seen challenge in the reverse engineering category. Do I got that right?
Yep, yep.
Okay, cool.
So since we don't have a scoreboard up and running, I just have the challenge information here for us. The challenge name is called Go Get It. And I have the challenge.txt file here, which just has all the information that we would typically display on the scoreboard itself. So this would include the title, Go Get It, a description, which is essentially like your hint or your challenge clue, giving you a little bit of guidance as to what the point of this challenge is. Usually all the information that's provided within the challenge description, the challenge name, is to give you a little bit of a clue as to what your focus should be and how it should be handled. So this one, again, let's Go Get It. This was created by a friend of mine, Anthony Rhodes. He is a great programmer. He's in the information security field, and he created this, like I said, for one of our local events. This is a little bit more of a medium challenge, and that's medium relative to our event, right? So this wouldn't be particularly difficult for somebody that's very skilled in reverse engineering, but in this instance, for somebody that's really kind of getting into it, it's going to provide a couple extra little bumps in the road. So with that, the challenge description, it says we've been working on a password checking program. If you know a password, you get a flag, or maybe there's another way. So there's two ways to really approach this. A is by doing some traditional reverse engineering to dig through exactly how the challenge operates, figure out where there might be a way to gain information. And then the second part, or maybe there's another way. That's kind of the path that I'm going to focus on here. It's a little bit easier and it's a little bit more beginner friendly. So with that, we have the challenge itself, which is a binary. It's just called challenge. If we use the file command on Linux and we provide it with the file that we are targeted with solving here, we can get some information on what type of file this is. So we can see that this is an ELF 64-bit executable. So this is built on Linux. It's an executable file. It's a Go application, right? So we have it as it's a Go application. So it was built using the Golang language. And it wasn't stripped, which means that it doesn't have like all of the information that was removed. So there's some stuff that's still kind of latent and still kind of available within the binary itself, which makes it a little bit easier. You know, if you strip out information, it makes the challenge a little bit more difficult. It kind of removes some of the metadata from the binary itself. So if we run the challenge itself, it's kind of basic. It just says enter the password, right? And you put in what you think the password is, and it's going to tell you if you're right or wrong. So the whole goal is, okay, well, what is the password? What can we figure out? How can we gain the password? Like I said, the traditional way would be to go through, to decompile it, to go through all of the instructions. If you're familiar with like assembly, you can go through that. What I typically like to do with things like challenges like this is see what information you can get. We saw that it was not stripped, so there's some information within there. So a typical way to grab information out of a binary is with the strings command. And what that'll do is it'll it'll spit out any information that is kind of machine readable or like human readable inside of a binary. And it can provide some information in there. So if we run the strings command, we can see there's a significant amount of text data contained within this binary. A lot of this that comes out is, it ends up being characters that are readable, but not necessarily English, right? It's just kind of information that was contained inside the binary. But we did see a lot of other things that were readable as well. So since this is a Go binary, it is kind of all compiled together. You have everything that you need to execute it on the system. If I go to the command here and I try to run like the Go language, I don't have it installed here, right? But I can still run the challenge because it's all compiled within it, right? So that's what we see when we run the strings command. We're going to look at this a little bit more in depth here. So we can see that there's a lot of information in here. If we go through, I'm not going to go through the more. We can see that there's a lot of calls to some of the libraries that are built in order for this to work. So the FUMP library is for like formatting, string formatting. You have some string stuff. You have a whole bunch of other types of packages that were built in that are needed in order for this thing to run. And there's a lot in here. So what are we looking for here? We're looking for we're looking for a password, right? So what if we try and just like filter out some things and grep for password, right? Do we see like some of that text that's in there? So we see that there's some stuff in there. There's some output from the some like error message output that could be provided if certain error conditions are met. That doesn't really give us much. But the other thing we're looking for is maybe like a flag, right? So maybe it just has a flag in there. So we see that there's like the string flag, reflect flag, all these other things. But with Go, this is kind of like providing a little bit of insight into how Go libraries or Go applications are built. There is, it pulls in the libraries when it's built. So we see in here that, we had some of those standard libraries like FUMP and Reflect, but then we had this other one that kind of sticks out, this one that's from GitHub, and it's called CTF flag. So that really kind of sticks out a little bit as being maybe a little bit of interest. And we see that there's this fetch flag function inside of the library. So maybe, this was a GitHub repository. Maybe we should just take a look at that a little bit. If we can see the actual source code, maybe it'll give us an idea as to how this thing operates, and maybe it'll give us the flag itself. So if we go into the GitHub repository here, we can see it is an open repository, and we do have the source code file for this. So we can see that here is the package that was used and called into that whole binary to build it. We can see that there's a single function in here, which is that fetch flag function that we saw in the output. We see a password here, which is a byte array. We have a flag byte array. And then we can see like how this function works. So it goes through the password, it checks the password character by character, and it goes through the flag, and it adds 1 to the flag. So it's kind of like offset a little bit, right? It's not just, if we just converted this, it looks like there's a little bit of math that needs to happen. And then there's a single check. If the password equals the password that here, if the one that they enter is correct, then it'll spit out the flag. Well, why don't we just try running this instead of going through the other library there? We can just run our Go code if we want to, and if we go to the Go playground, we can take a look at that. So let's go to the playground here because I don't have Go installed on the system. So we'll go into the Go playground, and what this is it's just an interactive console where you can play around with the Go source code. And get an idea of how it works. So we'll paste in our function here, our fetch flag function, and we don't really know what the password is. We don't know what the flag is, and we have this check here. If password equals if the entered password equals the password, then it'll spit out the flag. But we'll just override that. We'll say if it doesn't, if we get it wrong, then it'll give us the flag. Let's just do that. That's a little bit easier. So then all we need to do for that is make a call to the fetch flag. We'll send it a password, just A, and then it's going to return the decoded flag here, right? Okay. So we want to print that out. So we'll print out the what gets returned to us. And now we've just, made a few slight tweaks to the source code here. And if we run our executable here, we can see that now we've overridden the anticipated, way that this challenge should operate by grabbing some of the information contained within the binary, seeing what we could gain from that, and then, doing a little bit of a few extra steps here by going to the playground here. Since we didn't have Go installed, and there's steps that are required to do that, we just kind of utilize stuff that's available to us in order to do that. So now we can run that. We got the flag. All is good. We could submit that for our points.
So, Mike, I have to immediately say, like, anytime there's a description in any of the CTFs, and there's always like some cryptic message at the end that like, or maybe there's another way. It's like all of a sudden I get like my hair starts tingling and like, ooh, what's the other way? I don't care how you want me to solve it. It's like, what's the other clever way? So I don't know. It's just always entertaining when I see those messages, and they always seem to pop up in CTFs. So, and then, and just by the way, for everyone on the stream, I have not seen Mike solve this challenge before. So I'm watching this for the first time as well. And it's like, as soon as he reads it out, and I'm like, ooh, please pick the other way. And then you go and you pick, yeah, it's like, I'm not going to do the boring way of, what my reverse engineering professors might want me to do. I'm going to try to figure out the other way. So yeah, that's still great if you wanted to do a lot of the code decompilation that he was talking about, trying to tear apart the assembly. That's a very, very practical skill set for sure, if you wanted to try tackling the problem that way. But the fact that you were able to kind of do that, let's say, without taking that route, that's definitely really entertaining to watch.
Yeah, it kind of gives anybody that's playing around with this two ways to go about it, right? They can go this way, that's kind of like a less complicated way, but still a little, trying to get into the insides of these programs a little bit, just to learn a little bit about it. Or for somebody that might have done a little bit of reverse engineering and wants to kind of go through step by step the traditional way. There's tools that are out there. I'm not a very good reverse engineer, but that's just not where my skill set lies. So in these situations, I like to make sure that it's a little bit more approachable. Unlike the crypto challenge that we did last time, that kind of only had one way to get through it, right? At least there was like one answer, but there, we both had our own ways of kind of deriving that. But this one had, kind of two anticipated methods built into it.
Yeah, the techniques that you could do to approach this problem are definitely vastly different. Whereas I see what you're saying last time with the crypto challenge, where we really had the same technique. It was just, am I doing it by hand or am I running some bash commands to be able to solve it? But it was the same technique fundamentally.
Now I did go through that really quickly. Like, I kind of just shortcutted all those steps. I didn't really go through all the assumptions that can be made. So that's kind of why, like, I feel like this will be good to put into the sandbox for somebody to try out, because, how do you make those logical next steps? Like, why did that one string stick out? That's just going to involve a little bit of research and understanding and how, like, those binaries are built. You don't see that sort of situation in like compiled binaries built with C or something like that, but you'll see it with Go. And in this case, we only have this one external library. There are others that involve, hundreds of different libraries. So in this case, that was kind of an anomaly to stick out a little bit. And that may not be always, something to necessarily look for. It's just, anytime that you see something kind of interesting in there, it's worth kind of poking at it a little bit to see if that's like a viable way to move forward. And in this case, it kind of stuck out because of that function call, right? The fetch flag function. It seemed to be in place with what our goal was with this challenge, which is to get a flag, right? That's the only thing that we're trying to do here. So those little, kind of nuggets of information are really helpful to kind of make sure that you're going down the right path versus just, you're poking at anything, throwing it at the wall, seeing what sticks. We're trying to avoid that a little bit with the challenges that we put out there. But it's hard to predict, ways in which people may find unique ways to go through these.
Yeah, I like the mentality too that you just mentioned of, I know that I'm trying to get a flag, so let's keep that as a data point, like, in my head. And then it's like, okay, how am I trying to get a flag for this specific challenge? Well, I got to find the password. So like flag and password, these are immediate things that should be jumping out in my head. And taking any of the information, like, okay, I know this is a reversing challenge. Maybe that's a keyword or something that I should be looking for. And let me see what it looks like when I run it normally. Like these are all really good things that I like to see. You really bring to the front, and like this is really emphasizing the thought process. And another just quick little tool that I thought of immediately when you started doing this was, yeah, okay, at the command line, you can definitely interpret a lot of this information, but I try to have students as well think of things like hex editors, mainly because they have a full GUI, and I know how much people like when they have a GUI. Maybe you're a little bit intimidated by the command line, but that would be another good tool where if I had some type of hex editor installed, then I would be able to take my information, drop it in a hex editor. And I'm commonly telling people, try to look at what the information looks like in Vim or Nano. Try to look at what it looks like in a hex editor. Try to look at what it looks like when you run it. Try to open it with a browser. Like just try different programs to be able to see, and maybe one of those will give you an insight that you didn't necessarily have before. So, but yeah, sure.
Yeah, no, and that's a great method. There's other ways to do it. Just decompiling it using one of those decompilation tools like Ghidra or GDB if you're familiar with the command line stuff. Like all that is, there are valid ways to go about it. And I really want it to be something that feels approachable, no matter what your skill set is. To find something that makes sense in tackling this. And maybe again, like I said, reversing isn't my thing. I'm very bad at these challenges, which is why I didn't create this one. So I liked that this one had multiple options. And then, as I mentioned before, the challenge description, the title, everything is kind of there for a reason, right? The challenge name, go get it, right? That kind of gives you a hint, like, there's this other way, and the challenge, go get it. And we see a thing that's related to like a GitHub, like, it's pushing you along, but it doesn't all make sense right initially. So always go back and reread the description, reread the challenge if you're getting stuck on some of these things.
Yeah, and I definitely like how challenges like this is very, very common, how many times the challenge does push you to something that's actually publicly available on the internet. And you have to go out and find the data actually on the internet, on a live site, and that's where the flag has been hidden somehow. And I also really liked how, you have this problem commonly of, oh, I don't have the thing installed, I guess I can't do that. It's like, no, like there's probably some online tool that you can just do it live on the website. And so trying to be resourceful like that, just because one way to do it, like there's a web app that can probably do it as well. So if you get roadblocked immediately think like, well, let me just go to Google and try finding some web app that can maybe solve this next little piece of the journey for me.
Yeah, absolutely. I highly encourage any of those things. Like, we don't anticipate you building everything from scratch for some of these. It's more like, can you identify what we're trying to go for, and then find a resourceful way to go solve it. If that means that you find a tool that cracks a one of these simple ciphers online, cool. Like, you know that you can just go out and do that, and somebody's already done all that work. It doesn't reduce the fact that you have gained that knowledge, or you've had that knowledge, and you're confirming that knowledge that, hey, I've been able to identify what this is, a way that this might be solvable, and a resource that is available on there. Like, all those things are great skills to build up.
Yeah, definitely. So, well, Mike, I'll say thanks for highlighting this challenge, and I certainly look forward to challenges like this, whether it was created by you or some of our other contributors. Like, definitely shout out to anyone who wants to contribute CTF to us. We certainly accept contributions, and Mike is certainly the point person for that. But I'm looking forward to seeing more things like this in the sandbox as we go to prepare. And I'd also toss that out there, as foreshadowing, like what types of challenges are we tossing in the sandbox? What types of challenges are we tossing on stream? Like a lot of these same categories are probably going to pop up at the regional competitions, at the final competition this coming year. So.
Yeah, I think next time we'll end up doing either forensics or exploitation. I'm not sure which one yet. But that if anybody's got any, anything that they would prefer to see, like, let us know in the Discord. We're happy to try and accommodate. But otherwise, I'll find something interesting from one of those categories for next time.
Okay. And just while we're at it, I see we got someone has a question here in chat of, is there a deadline? What's the process for submissions? Just what should people know about if they wanted to go about submitting a CTF flag for us?
Yeah, on the website that you mentioned that we just kind of rebuilt, there is information there that kind of outlines how to get in touch with us for that. So essentially, if you have an idea or you're just interested in building that, you can go to the website. It'll tell you how, who to reach out to. Essentially, that would be me or Brody at this point for whether it's a CTF challenge or something as part of our infrastructure. And then we kind of sync up, like we'll schedule a meeting, we'll talk about what your idea is, how to make, how it makes sense, and then structure it in a way that's approachable for our target audience, right? So if that means adding some extra hints or, changing how the challenge works a little bit to fit within, our guidelines, I'm super excited to always discuss those things. Ideally, like if you have knowledge in a specific area, that's awesome. Like in this case, we had Anthony, who's great with, he's a phenomenal coder. He was able to put this together for me and make it just like exactly what I would, hope that it would be. Same with like some of the forensics challenges that we have coming up. We have people that are experts doing that, so they can define some real world challenges, some really interesting stuff. And they work with me in some of these cases to to provide it to the students here. So yeah, always open to more suggestions. We'll use it in our events. We'll put it in the sandbox. Whatever it makes sense, we're happy to oblige.
Yeah, and I'll just kind of use that opportunity as well to mention that with the new site, if you have any issues, in the bottom there is a contact support option, so you can email us. Our domain email is going to be an @c2games.org email, so you'll see that a lot on our site. So feel free to hit us at that, or like I said, make an account, join us in Discord, and you'll be able to talk to the devs live and to give us feedback there if something's not working, or if you have a suggestion, or whatever the issue might be, if you want to make a contribution. So yeah. Okay. So like I said, I look forward to talking to you guys more in Discord about that. And I think what we'll do is we'll transition next into a short video that I made with one of the local or one of the other universities that competed last time. So what I've been doing is kind of calling this my cyber club behind the scenes. I've been chatting with a whole bunch of local and national cybersecurity clubs. And for this past one, I had the opportunity to sit down with one of the team leaders from one of the teams that competed this past year. And so he kind of gets to give his insight as a team leader, sharing what his experience was all about, both being the leader and then working with a lot of new people. And so let's listen into that conversation and see how that all went. Hello and welcome. My name is James. I'm cybersecurity faculty here at Mohawk Valley Community College. And this month for us, we've got behind the scenes with Ben, who is the team leader from Dakota State University. At this past spring in 2020, Ben led his team as a hard-fought whole bunch of amateurs coming into the competition scene for the very first time as their fearless leader. He's happily agreed to sit down with me and talk a little bit about what was it like from that particular perspective. So, Ben, how did this past season go? What was it all about? What was it like, kind of from your perspective?
I mean, it was a lot of fun. The competition was really good, and the whole idea of me bringing a bunch of new people in is to help them find more what areas they like, because some of them weren't in cybersecurity, they were in computer science. And so it really helped them get a feel for what they did and didn't like about the competition and if they wanted to pursue more going forward.
I see. So having said that, that was definitely an important theme I've noticed across the different CAE schools, is that like every cybersecurity / computer science club seems to be coming from a slightly different perspective. So perhaps if you could just kind of speak on behalf of Dakota State University, like what is the flavor of cybersecurity and computer science? What is the general dynamic there?
At Dakota State University, they work pretty close together. If you take computer science, you're more than definitely going to have to take some cybersecurity classes. The college is heavily cyber operations, which is I would say pen testing degree, more focused towards paperwork and government work. But they work close in conjunction. If you do one, you will eventually encounter the other for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that sounds pretty typical to Mohawk Valley. We're only a two-year institution because we're a community college, but we definitely go hand in hand, very, very close knit with our computer science as well. So which one do you happen to fall under?
I do cyber operations. Pen testing it's been a hobby since middle school. My parents always wanted me to stay out of trouble, so they sent me to college.
So wait. To stay out of trouble, they said, "Why don't you go hack things?" That was the
Yes.
solution. Did they know that going in, or is that something that you just didn't mention? How did that work out?
So they were worried that because I was showing such an interest in pen testing that I was going to try to do it in a wrong way and get in trouble.
Mhm.
So they elected that college was a better fit for me because I could do it under the umbrella of the correct way to do it, you know. So they sent me to college here because it's close to home, it's well priced, and
Mhm.
everything just kind of worked out. I really enjoy it, lots of opportunities, research, fun stuff for
Yeah,
sure.
it definitely is so a pattern that we've seen a lot actually for our team here at the NCAE Cyber Games. We have a handful of people that have either done pen testing part-time, some of them they do it full-time, and it has been that, okay, I'd like to do this. How can I do it without going to jail? That would be nice.
Yes.
I'd like to get paid. So, and that's definitely something that we're very happy to help encourage and help foster and all that. There's a very, very big demand for that. So I guess having said that, kind of your interests specifically, what you find yourself in, relating to the NCAE Cyber Games competition, did you think that that was an appropriate alignment for some of the things you're interested in, or do you think that this particular competition perhaps went a different direction? Like, what do you think overall as to how well it lined up with those interests?
So it was definitely good for starting. By the time the competition rolled around, I was pretty well seasoned and well endowed, and there was quite a few students that we knew would be good at it, but they weren't sure if they wanted to pursue it as a profession. So rather, my position was to take all of these people that were good at what they did and put them into a competition. And from what they've told me and the experience that we had, it was very beginner friendly and lots of coaching. They really seemed to enjoy it.
And so you said earlier there were a bunch of the students who were computer science students.
Yes, a handful.
So presumably they're a little bit more on the coding side, a little bit less on the security side.
Yes.
How can you speak to that element? Like what was your general idea of taking someone who doesn't necessarily have a lot of that security foundation and saying, I'm going to have them use their time wisely, like do something productive, actually take on something that they can learn. What was your overall strategy to doing that?
So at first, the first issue I encountered, and um, it was that during the NCAE they had puzzles that you could solve, you know, and immediately the computer science kids clung to the puzzles. They didn't want to try hardening anything. They were more comfortable solving puzzles because programming obviously is puzzle solving. So that's what they're comfortable in. But the more I delegated and steered them towards and sent them documentation on how to work things, the more comfortable they became and the more they branched out. But definitely the immediate issue was that they clung to what they were comfortable with. And that's kind of the point of these games, I feel, is to learn something new and get outside your comfort zone. Definitely. Don't expect to win your first time. Definitely
Yeah,
not.
and I guess that's definitely an attitude I've seen kind of across the board is just with our competition specifically is just redefining what winning really means for something like this.
Mhm.
There are definitely a lot of really competitive, hardcore competitions that are out there that are you're really trying to get to the pinnacle of cybersecurity and capabilities. But definitely, we kind of pride ourselves on taking that approach of you can have much smaller victories along the way to that greater journey of becoming a professional and getting paid to, well, not go to jail. So, things like that, that's always good to hear from your side as well, that's actually what you're experiencing. So,
Yes. Yeah.
so I
I
guess,
mean,
oh, sure, go ahead.
I was just gonna say that it was good for people that haven't done it before, but they went into it with the mindset that just because they didn't get first place that they had somehow lost. But as long as you take something away from the competition, it's never a loss. And I think that's CTF competitions are something that are completely different, and cyber games are completely different. That as long as you learn something, it's worth the time because getting first place isn't what really matters. It's just improving your skill set for
Hmm.
sure.
Yeah, that's definitely great to hear. And hopefully they were able to do that along the way. So looking a little bit to the future, is this something you're going to be competing again with? What does your team look like this time around? What does this coming spring look like?
So this year, what we usually do for CTFs and cyber games for college is the director that oversees it is a professor, and the professor does like a call for papers. Essentially, we do a small tryout, and whoever gets in. This year, I won't be participating. I've elected to take up another CTF competition that I will be doing, but I'm not sure exactly the plan for NCAE. When the message goes out from the professor, I'm sure we'll have a lot of freshmen try out. That's usually what happens. The freshmen see it's a starter and they've heard it around campus. They want to get involved and they usually jump on board with it.
Mm-hmm.
We almost never get returners unless it's a team captain that's just there to coach.
I see. And that is really interesting to hear, because that's one thing we've been trying to foster here at the NCAE Cyber Games, is how we can get first-timer competition goers jump in, find the passion, find something they're interested, but continue on the other competitions. So that's great to hear how that's something you're kind of already naturally doing. So you mentioned that you were moving from being a team leader of the NCAE competition to moving on to another CTF competition instead, and letting the newer generation of students come in and compete at this competition, which is really what it's designed for. And I'm really interested in that on-ramp of you participated as a leader at this event, but now you're moving on to another one. Can you speak to like, why are you doing that, and what is that one, and how is that one like more appropriate for you?
Sure. So it's pretty interesting because usually, at least at this college, the culture is the lower level competitions you give to the freshmen, and the freshmen that really excel or show even interest and don't do the greatest, but show initiative and gumption are the ones that move up to the next one. The next one that I'm competing in is the CPTC tryouts, and I actually believe it's this week, tomorrow even. Yeah, it's tomorrow, and it's definitely a step up. Hopefully we do good, but the ramp on is pretty self-explanatory. I mean, you come in not knowing anything, and depending on how much effort you put forward is how far you go up into other CTFs. If you come in and you don't want to step out of your comfort zone and you just do puzzles the whole time, the chances of you moving up to the next competition are low. I wouldn't say impossible, but lower, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. And maybe just to kind of wrap things up, we'll maybe take things back to the beginning for you. Do you remember how you got involved in competitions kind of the first time, and what was it like?
Yeah, so I mean, I was never formally involved in a competition until last year. But like I said, in middle school, I started pen testing at a young age, making my parents nervous, as most people do. I started on Hack the Box, and I thought it was a lot of fun. And then I figured out that there's more than just attacking, there's defending. And I knew nothing about that. So I figured to round out my skill sets, I would do this. And yeah, I mean, I remember being extremely intimidated and nervous, not knowing quite what to expect with my first CTF last year. But it doesn't take long to gain confidence because you realize nobody knows what's going on or what they're doing. They just do their best.
Hmm. Yeah, that's funny how it's kind of like some almost like crazy storm that just comes through. It's you just kind of experience it and you hold on for the ride. That's what it feels like, certainly your
Oh,
first
yeah.
time. But after you've seen it before, you become one of those hardy veterans who says, it's just attacks from the red team. It's just our DNS server getting destroyed. Whatever, we'll deal with it. So, but that is
Oh,
really
yeah.
interesting though, and that's a great. It's great to see that you've experienced that progression of I'm going to do some puzzles. I'm interested in the attacking, but the gold is in the defending. That's really a big part of the value of what it is that we're doing. So.
In the field of cybersecurity, I mean, there is red team pen testing and stuff like that, red team engagements, but more than likely, defending is definitely the majority of the skill set. You only need so many attackers to take down a huge business. So more importantly, you need to know how to defend and attack. Attacking is more fun, but it's less important,
Hmm.
definitely.
Yeah, definitely the asymmetric nature of cyber certainly lends itself to that, and I certainly reinforce that idea too, that the way the job market is, there is a big demand for people with that pen testing skill set, but the vast majority is certainly what we're looking for in this country is defenders.
Mhm.
But nevertheless, find your interest, find your passion wherever it may lie, and stay on the ethical side of legal, and that's definitely a good motto. So. Well, Ben, I want to thank you for taking the time here. We certainly look forward to what Dakota State has to offer for this upcoming season. A whole bunch of new, fresh blood would be wonderful for us to go out and educate on how to do some things, but hopefully they can get out of their shell beyond CTFs as well. So,
Thank you very much for having me.
all right, thanks. So, Mike, you just listened to Ben here from Dakota State's. Coming from your CTF perspective and actually from your penetration testing background, what do you think of what he had to say?
Yeah, I really liked Ben a lot. He's definitely correct in that, it's much more difficult to be on the defensive side, and there's so much more demand there. I am one of the ones that is on the offensive side. There's still a lot of demand there too. And I feel like regardless of which side you're on, you can always provide some additional like help for somebody that's working on the other side, or just like making that transition later in your career, right? If you spend some time on the defensive or offensive side, and then you end up learning a lot of the skills and techniques that that side is using, you can use that to your advantage in assisting on the other side of it. So, like you said, find your passion, find what makes sense. If the defensive side isn't your cup of tea, that's fine. No reason to pursue that if it's not something you're going to be enjoying in the career sense. So, otherwise, yeah, I really like Ben a lot. I would love to chat with him some more.
Yeah, that sounds great, and certainly him or others you can find in our Discord server. So feel free to hit up these people in Discord just to talk with other students from across the country. We do have a bit of a community going here, so this is one of the best ways to learn. Certainly, you could listen to us professors, and I'm oftentimes saying, the more you can learn about offense, the better it makes you on defense, and vice versa. The more you can learn about defense and how people commonly misconfigure things, then oftentimes that makes you a better attacker. So they do complement each other, but why listen to me? Why not hear some other people say it as well? So or give their perspective on the topic. So. But yeah, and on that topic, I'm happy to talk to any of the other clubs. So if you want to be the next person that I chat with, feel free again, just hit me up, shoot me an email, and I'd be happy to sit down and talk to either you or your club and, spotlight you in one of our future streams.
James,
Sure.
what about like a team that's like looking to compete but hasn't competed so far? Is that something that they should reach out for you too?
Yeah, so I have spoke with a combination so far of people like Ben who were a team leader. They've really kind of graduated from our competition and are looking to move on to other things, and so they're kind of looking at our event sort of in the rearview mirror. And I have communicated with a handful of students as well who are. I heard about your competition. My professor said it would be a good idea. I'm scared. I have no idea what I'm going to do, but I'm going to show up and give it a try. Like, yeah, I'd be happy to talk to those types of people as well. So regardless of where you fall in the spectrum, just go ahead and reach out, and I'd love to hear what your perspective is. What are some of the things you're doing to prepare or not, and we'll see how it goes either before and after the event. So, but. Okay, so what are some of the things that can happen if you don't prepare? I'll try to not go professor mode here too much. But we commonly saw this past season how many people didn't necessarily put in a little bit of the time to prepare some of the things. And well, during the pressure of the competition, in combination with a little bit of the lack of preparation, sometimes some funny or dumb things happen. So this is kind of what I'm calling my little blooper reel of questionable cyber strategies. And so this month, yes, I've got another questionable cyber strategy video coming to us from a particular university that's, well, let's just say they struggled with one of the most fundamental things in cybersecurity. So I won't spoil anymore. Let's just go ahead and play the video and see what it is that they dealt with and how it worked out for them. So, Team One, how's it going?
We've experienced some damage.
Hardships and trials.
So I guess our main issue right now is with our router. It appears that we connected it to multiple ports. We forwarded the same port to multiple ports, and we don't know how to undo it. And we're just really, really confused at this point.
So looking at your port forwards, you're taking port 80 traffic and sending it to multiple IP addresses at the same time.
Yes, we don't know how to undo that.
Yeah, interesting strategy. We'll clean it up, perhaps by taking a look at one of the tutorial videos that I made on the Sandbox.
We were looking at that to do it, but I don't think it included how to remove the port.
Yeah, the last one, DNS 33. There's a chapter in there on cleaning up an incorrect port forward.
Dude, how do we do anything?
Okay, so thank you so much. We're gonna so 33.
Oh, 30.
Yeah.
It starts at 5.
We can't type it.
Okay, thank you. And then can you tell the red team to be nice to? No, I'm just.
We
joking.
can't do
Oh, you want some
anything
red team
right now.
attention? Awesome. I'll go tell them right now. Good luck.
Okay.
Why did
Hello.
you guys restart your router?
We're restarting everything because nothing works because they are stopping us from typing.
What did he say? Restart the router?
Oh,
Why we
looks like
did.
it's back on now. I don't know what happened there. Craziness.
Crazy, for real, for real.
Yeah.
Yeah, but-
we're kind of like getting attacked from all vectors.
Things are slowly coming back
It's
online.
like an earthquake or something. It's no other explanation.
But
I
not
mean,
yet.
I will tell you a pro tip that if you change your password from ABC123, that'll probably help.
True.
That's a good tip.
Oh wait, are we allowed to change password?
I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that.
Did you? It's not rebooting still, by the way.
got-
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, our
I
DNS
didn't
server is not
know.
rebooted. Or
I
not
don't know
DNS.
what to do now that it's like we're
No
basically
shot.
locked out. There's nothing we can do to get back into it.
Yeah,
Are we
DNS
allowed
is
to
down.
change the password?
like, completely.
So bad.
Oh, you got
Okay,
some
you
nice
got it.
ASCII art in your
Yeah.
DNS. What are you talking about? You've got plenty of things to look at.
Okay, no, I don't want that.
Right? We got DNS over here.
How's the port forwarding going?
I'm just.
We can start-
Yeah, firewall. How do I get a better firewall?
Man, what
That's
a gamer moment.
that is a lot of
Okay,
port
let's
forwards
change
you
the
got there.
passwords, 'cause that's probably why they keep on attacking.
I don't know
us.
what they're doing at the port forwarding.
Okay.
That's not my. That's my domain.
You have so many. I'm checking your port forwarding right now. You have so many things that are added.
They threw on like 4 more.
Oh my god, they're actually
So
showing.
if we reboot the DNS machine, is it going to be okay? Is everything going to be okay?
Maybe.
Okay.
They added 4 more. They're actually doing stuff to target you. That's so sad.
Okay, we just,
Reboot doesn't do anything.
I was gonna see that.
Oh, we're still stuck.
The router's stuck online. Oh, perfect. Okay.
Setting.
DNS is still down.
DNS we can't do anything with.
FTP login is down.
Console.
We're incapacitated over here.
For real. Should we just shut it down? It doesn't work.
My brain is rotting.
Someone's working on doing something productive on the router.
Yes,
Yeah, that's me.
he's going.
I mean, there's a lot of things to do, but you know, you got to start somewhere.
Is there a way to just clear them all?
Probably.
Like, with just like one of those
Uh-oh.
stars.
We got.
He said, "Uh-oh."
Hackers in the router.
This router is still mine, by the way. Just change the password.
How do you change? Yeah. What's the?
They're gonna see you changing it.
It's gotta. Well, they can't see the actual text though.
What if we?
That's
Listen.
literally probably why they're attacking us.
That's true.
Okay, if we could literally
Just
get
search it up
free of this, we would change the password. But unfortunately, no.
Yeah,
Well, you guys can't type anything.
No, we haven't been able to. for
DNS has
several
lost
minutes.
like 15 minutes of work.
Okay, so
No,
you
what
just
happens?
you just
Nothing?
type password.
Yeah,
The command to change the password. No, it's
Oh.
password without O or R. WD.
Password.
Oh,
Oh boy. Okay, well, I would like to shut down the VM, but it doesn't shut down when I press shut down.
The VM is completely unresponsive.
It's.
Do we
it's
still have
got a mind of
that
its own.
person on the Discord?
Yeah.
Oh,
If you need a VM to be like completely forcibly killed, summon a black team member to your text channel and ask for a little bit of help trying to reboot it.
Okay.
You actually.
Who's our guy again?
Yeah, who's
so
Nicholas?
you type PASSWD,
There we go.
and then you just
There
change
you
it.
go. That's
Change
what
it
I
to
like
something you'll remember, please.
Yeah, that was
I mean, hey, if you forget, just remember you could probably always ask the red team, and they'll find a way to let you back in.
Yeah, you can do my password, please.
I changed mine. I wonder if it will work for changing
Okay,
this.
so I would
It's
change
like
the
I have
password.
your password.
Kick
It's
them
like
out.
thank you, I forgot.
So when we log back in, we'll get response. Okay. We can just. Did I shut down as well on mine?
Uh-oh.
Oh yeah, make sure when you change the password, you kick anyone off of it.
Yeah.
You guys turned off your router again? Why did you do that?
Reset.
Kyle?
Do you know how to change?
No.
Do you know how to? It's like the second it gets up, we try.
Then you're
Yeah.
not root.
I got you.
Okay.
So it's
So
Uh,
how
log in.
login would be just root and ABC, right?
Josh, and then
Yeah.
ABC.
And I just have to keep directory.
Okay.
Yep, type in password,
So
but when you
I
write
Yeah,
word,
just press
it's just
D.
WD.
Space
Like that?
slash limit.
No.
Oh, D and then what?
Yeah.
LS.
Enter. There you go.
Enter.
Type it in.
What's
your
your
new one.
what's your? I'm gonna mute myself.
What? Do you think I'd steal your password and go tell the red team? That would be too far. I wouldn't do that. But in general, it's good to see that they don't trust me or anyone with their passwords, nor should they. However, with less than an hour left in the competition and they're just going, oh, maybe we should change our passwords from ABC123 to, I don't know, something, anything else. Yeah, well, I guess little victories. Little victories. We'll take what we can. And they're also checking who's actually logged into their system to see if anyone else has gained access, which is also good. So far, there seems to be nothing, but we'll see what comes of all this. So, Mike, passwords. In your professional experience, has that ever been an issue? Or no? No, it's just limited to a competition.
Oh my gosh, password. They had all the classics, man. First, turn it off, turn it back on. Always fixes it. If not, then it's probably DNS. And if not, it's we have the default password still. So I've seen it all. Yeah. They've learned a lot in that just that little bit, though. You know, it did seem like a struggle for them, but you know, it's a lot of really good knowledge gained through, you know, just being in the fire on that and trying to keep somebody out. Like it's a little cat and mouse game. I liked at the end there, they were keeping an eye to see if somebody was in there while they were changing it. So hopefully, you know, if there was, you know, somebody logged in, they weren't, you know, somehow capturing what they were trying to change it to. But you know, it looks like really stressful. I wouldn't want to be in their shoes.
And in their, or let's say, kudos to them in the sense that throughout most of their competition, they were in one of the top slots. So I'm certainly not trying to pick on one of the teams that was towards the end. Like, even the best teams in your region are going to be struggling with some of the most fundamental things. Now, at the end of the competition, I don't think they came in first, but who knows? Maybe some little bit more savvy password or more diligent password management might have been able to allow their services to stay online just long enough and push them over the edge. But nevertheless, that's kind of how that competition ended up turning out. So.
I like the little, you know, the little nudge towards your videos there. They're like, oh, there was nothing in there about how to remove a forward. And you're like, well, right exactly here. And they probably went and viewed it right away. And I don't know if they made enough progress there, but it's there for them. You know, there's some resources available. It's something to keep in mind.
By the end, they had used that DNS router, DNS and routing video to be able to bring their DNS back online and have the router routing the traffic correctly. So, and that was one of the biggest point scorers for them at the competition, was they were able to keep that online for quite a while. But when the red team got in their router because they hadn't changed the default password, well, yeah, they lost out certainly on a bunch of points because of that. So. But having said that, what are some ways that maybe you could keep the red team out? let's kind of wrap up today's stream by talking about some of the new YouTube videos that I just turned on. I've continued to release some more content, and highlighting this particular week, I'll do a quick screen share here and share that I've created 2 more videos, about another hour of content that focus on using some firewalls on your personal computers. I am taking the approach that maybe you don't know anything about Linux firewalls, and so I focus mostly on UFW. I realize that the more that you can learn about IP tables, the better. And I have some other videos in the service side that focus a little bit more on firewall D. So regardless of which way you want to go with enabling firewalls, definitely that would be something I would highly recommend checking out. I'd say in the past, I've seen a lot of competitors that, yeah, they do manage their firewall a lot on their router, but I wouldn't say that they necessarily go above and beyond or really do too much in the way of impressive things on managing firewalls on their individual servers that they're scoring on. So I don't know, Mike, is that consistent with what you've seen, or have you perhaps seen something else?
No, I think that a lot of the defense goes into the router side, which really makes it challenging if they get past that part, right? One of the things I would really recommend is, know the rules of the game, know what you're getting scored on, and see what else is listening. If you have something that's just a web server, like for me, when I'm doing testing, a client tells me that they're running a web server, I'm going to see if there's other ports opening that shouldn't be there. And if there are, then there's, something going on that's not expected. So this could be internal or external. So if you're expecting things to run a certain way and there's a deviation from that, that should be a little bit of a clue to take a look at it and either lock it down, add some rules, prevent any access to that, because it's not going to hurt you on the score part if it's not a scored service. So there's no reason to keep it up and potentially expose yourself more.
Right. And I'm thinking of how many times it's like you're not trying to just secure one service, you're trying to secure the server. And so you need to think about the attack surface of the entire server, not just of that one service that you're trying to get online. So firewalls is a great way to go about doing that. So anyways, I'm happy to release that one. I'm sure the red team would be very happy if you don't look at that one at all. There have been very few cases in the past where I've seen some of our new competitors try to dabble into firewalls, and sometimes they end up shooting themselves in the foot because they just don't quite know what they're doing. But a lot of times we have seen probably some of the most lockdown servers that we've had in the past. It's probably because they enabled a firewall, among a whole bunch of other things, but it was part of the recipe to success there. So
yeah, the other thing I would mention too on those is, taking an action is going to, put you in a better position. But if it's a contested environment, there's no guarantee that action is going to maintain. So if you're doing things like adding rules or making changes to users or passwords or whatever, take some time to evaluate whether there's something else that's happening that's undoing the work that you've done. Because if somebody's in there while you're making that change and they have the same permission levels, they can just undo that. So it's kind of this game of, keep compounding on your the actions that you're taking, and review the steps that you've taken in the past. Because if you feel like you've locked down one area and it got opened back up, you may be blind to that particular thing and think that there's a problem somewhere else when it's something that you've already been able to address, but just not in a situation where you were able to keep it in that state.
And to follow right up on that, and this complements what you just saw some of those team doing during the questionable cyber strategies video of like, well, how can I tell what active connections are there to my computer right now? How can I tell things like who's logged in? That leads me to the other video that I released here, which is about half an hour of what I'm kind of just calling active connection defense, where I go through a handful of commands which can help you to do that. Now, obviously, it's a Linux system. There's a whole bunch of different ways and a whole bunch of different tools that you can use to monitor a lot of this stuff. So I'm kind of showing some of the basics, things like netstat and w and other commands like that. Hey, you got to start somewhere. So how can you monitor who's actively connected to your system and what type of services or remote connections might be going on? Definitely, this is a really fundamental one. Again, another one. I'm sure Red Team would be very happy if you did not look at that video and did not learn how can you tell when they're actively connected to your system and when they're, going in and mucking around with things. So,
how much do you have uploaded on there now in all those videos?
So
there's got to be a lot.
Yeah, the entire playlist, if you go to playlists on here, it's up to 38 videos and it's over 12 hours worth of content. And all of the content that I'm demoing here in these videos, let me pause this. All of the content that I'm demoing here in these videos is all stuff that you can test for yourself just by deploying a mini hack. So if you go to our Sandbox, deploy a mini hack, that gives you enough VMs to test both services as well as take little detours and test other security related things. So yeah, the mini hack itself has a nice challenge for you to do, but you can still just use that as an environment to go and test other things as well, because we've built in a lot of tools and services are already inside there that allow you to kind of replicate other things that you'll see at our competition. So having said that, I'm at 12 hours now, but that number is just going to continue to increase between now and at the end of next season. So definitely stay tuned for more for sure.
Any hints on upcoming videos?
So one of the content areas that I would like to get into, let's just call it scripting. I've seen at on the local stage where, yes, learning a lot of these fundamentals that I've kind of talked about in their first like 10 to 15 hours worth of Linux content is good. But at some point, you want to start doing some of these things in an automated or quicker fashion. And then learning how to make a quick little script, I think, will be a very, very good technique and skill to learn. So if you've had some Python, or maybe you've had some more in some other classes, obviously, pick your language, whatever helps improve, whatever you can automate to make yourself just more effective at the keyboard. That's all good stuff. But I think that's going to be one of the content areas where I'll head next shortly. So
yeah, I like that. That kind of goes into like that compounding effort, right? If you have a command that you're running a lot to see what's going on or to take some action against the red team, scripting that out and letting that run and just monitoring that that's happening can kind of allow you to move your focus a little bit somewhere else and kind of build up this like defensive script throughout the day that's addressing these little things as you're finding them. So I think that would be a really useful piece of video for them to take a look at.
Yeah, the other one that I find very useful for is when you combine it with the idea of backups, of trying to say, okay, it's not just about what can I use my script for to protect information, but also how quickly can I use scripts to recover? And that's something that once you figure out how to do things, well, maybe I could write a script to figure out how to do things, which would help me recover in the case of an attack. So again, I think that's where I'm going to go next, but I want to make sure I at least get a lot of the fundamentals covered first. And I'm sure I'll get to some scripting videos, though, by the time that our regional events actually come out. So that's some content to look forward here in the future.
Yeah, no, sounds good.
Well, Mike, we're a little bit over an hour here, which was kind of our goal. So I think that this is definitely a good night for us. If anyone else has any other issues, like I said, make an account, join us in Discord. Unless if you have any other closing thoughts, I'll just say look forward to seeing everyone in Discord. Look forward to seeing everyone in the Sandbox. And we'll also see you next month, of course.
Yeah, I'll hang out and chat in case there's a few questions. But otherwise, the only other thing I'll mention is if you're interested in building challenges, feel free to reach out. If you're in one of the CAE schools and you're looking to sign up, sounds like everything's live there. So take a look at that. And hopefully, yeah, like you said, we'll see them in Discord. And, we're about 2 months, less than 2 months out, a month and a half maybe until the events start taking off. So, plenty of time to get the 12 hours of content, digested, but some work to do.
Yeah, exactly. So, all right, everyone, have a good night, and we'll see you next month.